Father, thank you that it's your kindness that calls us to repentance. Thank you that you are gentle with us, humble of heart. I ask that we'd be able to learn from you in your kindness. In Jesus' name, amen. If you're just joining us online, welcome. This is Abundant Life Church. I'm Chad Ripley, the pastor here. I'm glad that you're with us. We've got a question I haven't asked before in church, but who wants to be a millionaire? Oh, at least a couple of us. Sounds impossible, doesn't it? Well, before we go further, we should define the term. The term millionaire first came into use here in the West, in the United States, in the 1800s. And John D. Rockefeller was likely our original millionaire in the United States. So that's why we associate that term with just great wealth, because we're thinking Rockefellers, we're thinking yachts, that type of thing. And that kind of extravagance, that's not what millionaire means anymore. The first picture up there with a yacht in front of a mansion at the coast, that's more likely a billionaire. And I'm not able to tell you how to get there. For that, you're going to have to invent an Apple or an Amazon. A billion is 1,000 times a million. I can't get you there. But that's not the type of wealth we're talking about today. Although if one of you does become a billionaire, you can bet that very soon afterward, we're going to have a message on tithing. Your typical millionaire in the United States actually lives in a 2,600 square foot home and has 2 cars in the driveway. Interestingly enough, Dave Ramsey says that that is about 60 square feet under the average house in the United States. Did you catch that? The typical millionaire lives in a smaller house than the average American. You think the average American might be overspending just a bit. So I don't want you to be rich. Do I want you to be rich? Yes, I do. But more than that, I want you to be free. It is hard to feel free if you're under a mountain of debt, isn't it? Paul wrote in Galatians 5:1, it was for freedom that Christ set us free. Therefore keep standing firm, do not be subject again to the yoke of slavery. I want freedom for you. Peaceful sleep at night, without worrying how on earth are we going to pay for this mortgage? How are we going to send Junior to college? How can I pay off this credit card? I don't want you to have worries like that. Now, I'm not preaching the prosperity gospel today. I'm not preaching, name it and claim it. We claim there's a Ferrari out when I leave. No, I don't believe in that stuff. But what we are talking about is wisdom, the wise handling of your money. The Bible has a lot to say about that. There's more than 2,000 verses about money in the Bible. 15% of Jesus' parables had to do with money, more than any other subject he talked about. So it's right that today we talk about money. Now, some of our things that our friend Dave Ramsey has to say on the subject can sting a little bit, because at one point or another, most of us have done something stupid with money, haven't we? We've had to pay a stupid tax, and that's not fun. So as we talk about money, remember, I don't prepare sermons for any one person. I'm not calling you out. I'm simply calling you to a better way of living with your finances. I'm calling you to financial freedom. And I want to let you know, I do that without judgment. I've been there before. There was a time in my life I didn't have money for groceries. I have to put that on a credit card, and then when I got paid, I could eat. I've been there. I've been that broke. So I'm not saying this with any judgment. I just want to see you free. I want to see you thrive. Dave Ramsey has a path to that freedom that he calls the 7 baby steps to financial freedom. I don't think anybody can explain those steps as well as Dave himself. So I've invited him to speak, at least via video. Let's take a look at the 7 baby steps to financial freedom. We may have to turn off one of the lights. Maybe slideshow from this slide. That first. So, George, 30 years ago when I started teaching this stuff, I was first teaching people how to get out of debt, live on a budget, be generous, live on less than you make. So you have a plan, you avoid debt, you save money for emergencies and later for investing. And all of those principles work, but people kept saying, which one do I do first? And so I started laying out, well, you should do this first and that first. You should have an emergency fund before you start your 401k. And then I figured out it's easier to have an emergency fund if you don't have any payments. And so you need to get out of debt first. Because, of course, I learned my lesson the hard way, going bankrupt and getting out of debt, and learning how important it was to be debt-free as a part of building wealth. So all of that started to formulate after a few years of teaching in various settings and what became Financial Peace University. It used to be called Life After Debt. And it started becoming what we now call the baby steps. And the interesting thing is that now the baby steps have gone into the Total Money Makeover book, which has sold almost 10 million copies. And they have become the proven plan, the shortest distance between where you are now and wealth. Where you are, if you'll live like no one else later, you can live and give like no one else. What is the shortest distance? And we need a path to run on, because the way you eat an elephant, it's overwhelming. Do I do my 401k with the match, or my kid's college? Or do I have an emergency fund? Or do I pay on this 18% credit card debt? Or, and nothing gets done. You get paralysis of the analysis, you get frozen.
Absolutely. And this step, these baby steps have worked for me. They've worked for millions, and it's really simple. If you do it, they work. And it all starts with baby step 1, having this foundation, saving $1,000 for a starter emergency fund. This is just a small buffer between you and life before we start tackling the debt.
Exactly. And if you have $1,000 already, great, just set that aside. That's your baby step 1. Any money you have that's not retirement, anything you can sell that is not retirement, you're going to liquidate it. If it's not retirement, you got some stock over here that Grandpa left you. You got a gold bar under your bed. I don't know what it is, but you got any money that's above $1,000. Maybe you got $10,000 in a savings account. That's $9,000 you got that you don't need past baby step 1. We're going to put it all on baby step 2. And baby step 2 is the famous one. That's the debt snowball, where you list your debts smallest to largest. You pay minimum payments on everything but the little one, and you attack the little one with a vengeance. Side note, baby step 1 should not take you more than 30 days. Maximum. You need to work extra, sell some stuff, have a garage sale, put the kids on Craigslist, whatever you got to do here. Let's get it done. And, you know,
we're going to get busted into this, get $1,000 quick. Baby step 2, you should be debt-free, but your house, now you may have to sell a stupid boat. You may have to take an extra job. But most people that have followed the Total Money Makeover baby steps in Financial Peace University are debt-free inside of 2 years.
Yeah, and that's with doing it with some gazelle intensity, like you talk about in Financial Peace University. And once you pay off all that debt, now you've freed up all those payments, right? You have that income
Think
back
about
in
what
your
it'd be
life.
like to have no payments but a house payment. Wow.
We're breathing easy. And then we can move on to baby step 3, where we save 3 to 6 months of expenses in a fully funded emergency fund. This is the final buffer where we say we're never going back into debt because we are the bank now.
Yep. Grandma's rainy day fund. Why? It's going to rain. Dave, you need to be positive. I'm positive. It's going to rain. You need to be ready when crap happens. There's a pandemic coming around every corner. There's something coming, and if you have $20,000 cash in the bank, 3 to 6 months of expenses, whatever it is, and you have no payments, you are the third pig in the 3 little pigs, the one that's in the brick house when the big bad wolf comes. You're ready for life. You're ready to go. Now you're ready to build wealth. But that you just now have gotten up to ground zero. You've just now gotten up to even. When you have that emergency fund and you're debt-free, now you're ready to build wealth. And in baby step 4, you put 15% of your income aside into good growth stock mutual funds in retirement plans. Start where there's a match. Beyond the match, always do Roth. And if you exhausted Roth and match and still are not to 15%, then go on to a traditional 401k or IRA. But do Roths before traditional and do match before Roths. It's mathematically in your favor to do that, up to the 15%. Don't do 20%, don't do 11%, do 15%. While you are doing baby steps 4, you're also going to be doing 5 and 6 simultaneously.
Absolutely. So baby step 5 is where we're saving for our children's college fund. And this is going to look different for everyone. There's no set number here because it really depends on your situation.
Did you have the baby last week, or is the baby 18? That makes a difference on how much you need for college, right? I mean, what you got to do for college. Just like, is this an oh crap moment, or hey, we're going to be diligent and save? Did we wait almost until too late? Now, they have to go to college debt-free. They cannot participate in this epic student loan system failure that is called America right now. It is horrible out there. Do not let your kids go in debt. You do not have to go to debt. Go to community college for free for 2 years. Go to in-state school, work 6 jobs, get scholarships. Our student loan problem is a parenting problem. Mom and dad let kids sign up for crap they couldn't afford. Bad mama, bad daddy.
They got to have the conversations. That's
Yeah.
where it starts. And
So-
there's a reason you say baby step 4, invest for yourself before the kids, because there's a 100% chance you're going to retire. There's a 50-50 chance or less these days that your kid's going to go to college.
And graduate.
Yeah.
Yeah, this less than 50% chance they're going to graduate. So this is important. So while you're doing 15%, you do whatever you need to do for your kids' college, whatever you decide to do for your kids' college. Beyond that, if you can find any money, you do that on baby step 6, and that's pay off your house. Start chunking on the house. Now, when you're in 1 through 3, you are so intense your friends are freaking out. Your grandmother thinks you need counseling. You are gazelle intense like a gazelle running from a cheetah. When you're in 4 through 7, you're not intense anymore. You are now intentional. You're just doing it on purpose. But you're no longer on beans and rice. You're on beans and rice, rice and beans. Scorched earth on 1 through 3 till you get those 3 things done. Now, get that house paid off. The average person following this stuff is paying off their home in about 7 or 8 years. Now, that tells us that the whole program is taking about 10 years, and the average baby steps millionaire, the average everyday millionaire that we've studied, we're finding them become a millionaire from the time they start with intensity followed by intentionality, become a millionaire in about 10 and a half years.
Yeah.
11.2 years, 10.6 years are the 2 numbers we keep running into. So this is completely possible.
Yeah, and once you pay off that house, it's time to build wealth and give outrageously in baby step 7. That's where it ends.
Yeah, you will be a millionaire shortly after your home is paid for if you don't at that moment. And then you continue to build wealth, and you raise your generosity, and you continue to build wealth, and you raise your generosity. And you enjoy the money at that point.
That's where it gets fun.
These are the things. The only 3 things you can do with money, and you should do all of them at baby step 7. And that's the route you're going. That's where you are. That's who you are. That is the baby steps.
Now let's talk about those steps. Step one is save $1,000 for an emergency fund. In 1993, I didn't know how that was possible. How am I going to scrape $1,000 together? I'd hardly ever had $1,000. If I had it, it's because I was saving for my first car that cost $900, or I was paying college tuition. Otherwise, I didn't have that in the bank. I didn't have it. When I was able to put that aside, it felt like a huge accomplishment. And it is. The first time that something broke and I could just pay for it, instead of being on my knees, oh Lord, how am I ever going to pay for this, was an enormous relief. I'd had my first little taste of financial freedom, and it tasted pretty good. Step number 2 is the debt snowball. Proverbs 22:7 says, the rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender. I don't want to be enslaved. I don't want that, and I don't want it for you. If you don't want to be enslaved, stop being a borrower. So what's a debt snowball? Well, like Dave said, you take all your debts, your credit cards, loans, all of that, and you write them down from smallest to biggest. And then you attack that small one because you're bigger than it. You attack the small one and you make minimum payments on everything else. But Pastor Chad, I've got an 18% rate on this credit card and my smallest one is 5%. Shouldn't I pay the 18% so that I can pay things off sooner? No. Well, here's why. Because you didn't come to church today for me to teach you math. You learned that in grade school, but your finances is not a mathematical problem. It's an emotional problem. It's a behavioral problem. So no, do we go for the highest interest rate? No. Go for the smallest debt. And we're going to attack that. And when we've had that first victory, we're ready to attack the second one, and the third one, and the fourth one. He said that can take less than a couple years. Can you imagine, as you sit here now, wondering how you're going to pay off all the credit cards that are in your wallet, being debt-free within 2 years? Can you imagine that? Were you debt-free 2 years ago? Maybe not. You could be debt-free 2 years from now. That's the debt snowball. Step 3 is finish the emergency fund. What do I mean finish it? I mean $1,000 isn't enough for you, is it? It's not enough. Dave Ramsey would say to have 3 to 6 months worth of expenses put away. So once you've started with a $1,000 emergency fund so that something minor isn't going to just crash your finances, and then you've paid off those credit cards so you don't have them anymore. Dave at one point talked about freezing your credit, and a caller said, well, how do I do that? And I said, well, put your credit card in a bag, fill it with water, and stick it in the freezer. That way the next time you want to spend on credit, it's going to take you 5 hours to get that credit card, and you've got some time to come to your senses before you do it. No more of that impulse buying on credit card. But putting together a fully funded emergency fund, that's what Dave calls kicking Murphy out. Well, who's Murphy? Murphy's Law. If something bad can happen, it will. Now, like they said, Dave, you've got to be positive. You've got to think positively. And that's what I hear from people who would like me to invest my money rather than pay it for my house. Well, you got to think positively, Chad. You've paying such a low interest rate on your home loan, and you could make more than that here. See, mathematically, you're better off. Again, it's not a math problem. I know math. Dad was a mathematical genius. I know math. It's not a math problem. It's a behavior problem. And the other thing is that thinking positively, like Dave said, well, I am positive. I'm positive that it's going to rain. I'm positive that something bad is going to happen financially to me. I'm positive that my refrigerator eventually is going to break. Positive about those things. I'm not feeling negative about it. I just know it's going to happen. It's going to happen. But if I'm prepared for that, if I've got a fully funded emergency fund, then when my refrigerator breaks, it's not an emergency, it's an inconvenience. I've had those things be emergencies before. That's not a good feeling. When you can pay the man, that's good. I came back from Minnesota. I had a wonderful vacation in the summertime. Of course, it's a lot cooler up there. I come back here, and it's 99 degrees outside, and I open the door, walk in my house, and it's 98 degrees in my house. Well, that's inconvenient. That was several $1,000s worth of inconvenient. But I had an emergency fund. I walked into the house with my dog, Bomber's Box. They graciously babysit Lexi the Labradoodle. We walk in the house and look at each other and said, "This ain't going to work, Lexi." I didn't even unpack my suitcase. We just turned around, walked back out of the house, and got a hotel for the night, and called a repairman and had them out there within a couple of days. Fixed it for several $1,000s. Well, what if I don't have an emergency fund? For one, I can't take that vacation, right? But when I come back, there's been a lot of times in my life I could not afford to just go to a hotel for the night, right? Have you had times like that? Can we go to a hotel? No. I mean, I grew up camping, right? We camped at the beach, and I loved it. It didn't dawn on me till years later that, it's also less expensive than hotel rooms, but I figured that out. And I could rent a hotel room at the drop of a hat. I could call a repairman and not wonder how on earth am I going to pay for this? Or am I just going to have to sit in 99 degrees? I'm not as tough as my ancestors. I can't do that. I talked to my son, David. Well, it's 120 over here, Dad. You're tougher than I am, son. Baby step number 4. And why do they call these baby steps? It's because it's simple. It's a simple plan. It's a simple 7-step plan. Well, that doesn't sound easy. I didn't say easy. I said simple, right? How do we get healthy? Eat less, exercise more. That's simple. Is it easy? No. But it's simple. This isn't easy either because we're changing our behavior. If I need something, I'll use a credit card. I need something, I'll use a credit card. And then it trickles down to, I really need those new shoes. Our wants become our needs, and we keep using credit, right? So we're changing our behavior. That is not easy, but it is a simple plan. So baby step number 4 is invest 15% of your income for retirement. Remember the story of Joseph with his coat of many colors? He became a ruler in Egypt because he advised the Pharaoh what to do when the Pharaoh had a dream. And he interpreted the dream for Pharaoh and said, "Hey, King, this is what your dream means. You're going to have 7 years of plenty. We're going to have bumper crops, huge harvest. It's going to be wonderful. And then that's going to be followed by 7 years of famine. And so what I'd advise, King, is appoint somebody smart, somebody with wisdom, to store up grain and the things that we need during those 7 years of plenty so that we have enough and we don't starve in the 7 years of drought." And the king, he was not a stupid man himself. He said, "Well, who's got more wisdom than you since God's talking to you? You're the man. Go store things up for 7 years." And he did, saved the country, saved Israel, the beginning of another country. While you're working, that's your 7 years of plenty. When you're young, when you're making money, when you're easily able to go to work, that's your years of plenty. And retirement will be your years of famine if you don't set some money aside, if you don't plan for that. Like they said, it is 100% guaranteed you're going to retire. That's going to happen. But many of us, we're living our lives financially as if we're going to be young, strong, and healthy forever. We're never going to need to stop working or slow down, but you will. So we set aside 15% for retirement. And he gets a little more complicated. He would have that set in mutual funds, something that's relatively safe, but it's going to go up over time, over decades of time. So we're saving 15%. Proverbs 10:4-5 says, lazy people are soon poor. Hard workers get rich. A wise youth harvests in the summer, but one who sleeps during the harvest is disgrace. Your working years, that's your summer. That's your harvest. Store up. Be wise during those years. Step 5, create a college fund for your kids. Now, how much should I put into that college fund, Pastor Chad? Well, like our friend Dave said, it depends. Did you just have a baby, or is your baby 18? Right? Makes a difference on where you start. When my son David earned a full-ride Army ROTC scholarship to college, I was able to take money that I'd set aside for him and pay cash for a truck to get him there. Put some money away for your kids. It is a wonderful feeling to be able to help your children. It's a wonderful feeling. Baby step number 6, I'm working on this one. This is where I'm at. Pay off the house. Now, I'm working on it, but some of us have done it. Matthew, could you tell us a little bit about that? How old are you, Matthew? 49. 49. I forget. Well, no, I don't really forget. But how many kids do you have? 4, plus you're married. That's a family of 6, and you're 49. Have you paid off your house? Yes. You've paid off your house at 49 with a family of 6? My goodness. My hat's off to you. You must be a neurosurgeon, a rocket scientist, or a high-paid attorney. What do you do for a living?
I work at a bank.
Do you own the bank?
No. I skim off a little. No, I don't. Well, just consistency and doing a budget is what.
Doing a budget. So you've got what some would consider a regular job.
Regular job, yep.
Regular job, and yet at 49 you've paid off your house. That's amazing. It can be done. Step 7, once you've paid off that house, is to build wealth. They did a study, Dave Ramsey's group did, on 10,000 millionaires in the United States. And here's what they found, because it's easy to find broke people to advise you financially, isn't it? They've got strong opinions. Don't listen to that Ramsey guy. Let me tell you how you should invest, Chad. Your house payment, you're only paying 3.25%. You got a great interest rate locked in. Here, I can probably make you 6 or 7%, except if they're real salesmen, they'll say something stupid. I can make you 15% over here. With this investment, that's where you should go. But that's not how the majority of millionaires, of those 10,000, built their wealth. The majority of them built their wealth by paying for their house. So they had no debt. And then after that, they invested. They had been investing 15% for some time, but now they're able to invest however much they want. Imagine if you were putting a house payment into investments, how quickly you could become wealthy. One of Dave's favorite sayings is, if you live like no one else now, which means that you're not using credit cards, you're not taking personal loans, you're not buying brand new $60,000 vehicles and making payments on them. That's what most of America does. But you live like no one else now. You don't do that. Then, later, you can live like no one else. At this stage, when you're building wealth, you have no debts, your house is paid for, you've got the ability to do several things. He mentioned there's 3 things that you can do with money, but he didn't say what they are, so I'm going to tell you. You can have fun. I have fun driving hot rods or motorcycles in the hill country. I have fun taking vacations. You can have fun with money. You can invest. It's the second thing you can do with money. I'm doing that. Once I retired from the police department, I was no longer eligible to put into my retirement fund there. So what can I do now? Well, I started a Roth. Started it a year and a half ago. Now it's got some money in it. And I'll keep doing that. If I live to be a long, old man, I'll have some money. If I don't, well, kids will have some money. Have fun, invest, and then you can give. I mentioned how good it is to be able to do that. For my kids, I was able to buy each of them a vehicle, pay cash for it. So I didn't have to think, well, how can I do that? Should I take out a loan for my kids? The answer to that is no. No, you shouldn't. But it was such a blessing to be able to provide that for them. Such a leg up. When my friends have fundraisers, when my family has fundraisers, I'm able to give to them. I'm able to give generously. I've got some friends that each year they've got one time when they're going to support a cause that's dear to their heart, right? I'm able to give generously to that. I have a reputation with them for being generous, but it's because I give. I've already set aside 10% of my income to give wherever I feel led, wherever I think the Lord would use me. And it's just a blessing to be able to help. Be able to help friends when they need something. To be able to go ahead and buy into your neighbor's school fundraiser without going, oh no, they're at the door. It's book club week. I know what week it is. I'll hide under the couch. Maybe they won't see me. You don't have to do any of that. You can give. You can be generous. It's such a blessing to be a blessing. That's it. 7 simple steps, baby steps, for creating peace in that area of your life. Not easy steps, but simple steps. Our elder Matthew Wilgan has taught Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace course here at Abundant Life, and he said he's willing to be a resource for you if you'd like some financial peace yourself. Let's find freedom together. Amen. Matthew, if you'd be willing, tell us a little bit about this work.
So, financial peace was offered here at church back when Rachel was an infant. So she's 18 now. So Patty and I went through it, and that's where we started. There was an accountant lady that was in the course, and she came up with a Excel budget sheet, and I asked if I could have a copy. Her husband sent me a copy of it, and that's what we've been using ever since. And the key to this whole thing is doing a budget, writing it down and following the budget sheet. Dave says you're the boss of the budget until you write it down, and then the budget becomes the boss of you. And writing it down stretches your money so much farther than trying to do it any other way. I realized that Patty did not see into my brain on how much money we had and where it was going and all that stuff. So writing it down and doing the envelope system, like Dave says, is what we've done, all these 18 years. And we paid off the house. It's coming up on 2 years now. And this works. If you do it, it works. If you don't do it, it doesn't work.
Thank you. Anybody else have some insights or questions or things to say about the message? Yes.
I have a question for you. And it goes back to because this thing, I've heard this before, but how does tithing fit into this equation? Because obviously you're choosing the 10% and then more common stuff, or how would you?
Okay, how does tithing
Because obviously,
go into it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
as far as prioritizing,
yes, I can certainly answer that. And I'll tell you that the Dave Ramsey tithes. Somebody asked him to get into the minutia of that. Do you tithe on your gross? Do you tithe on your net? He tithes on his gross. That's what he does. I tithe on my net. You know, he might have a little more treasure saved up in heaven. I'm not sure. I don't think God's interested in legalism, but there is a principle there. There is some of God's truth that you receive when you give. So that we see even companies that are not Christian, they're not run by Christian, what do? They give. They give a significant portion, don't they? Because they've learned God's truth, even if they don't know God, that when you give, you receive. I will say for myself, I have tithed since I was making 50 cents a week as an allowance from Dad and Mom. I've tithed from then until now. There's a verse in the Bible that says, I've never seen the righteous go hungry or God's people begging for bread. And so there's a principle there. In Malachi, God spoke about that and said, put me to the test. Bring the full tithe into the storehouse and see if I will not open the windows of heaven for you. And so in my life, I can say, boy, there's been times I thought, it's so tight, I can't tithe. I don't have that 10%. But I did anyway. And I just gave that to the Lord. I said, Lord, you see, I don't have the money for this, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to give that to you, not because God needs the loan. He doesn't need your money, but it changes your heart. And there's times that things happen to us financially that, whether it's all our fault for shooting ourselves in the foot, or it can be somebody else's fault that we're close to. They turn around and shoot you in the foot. Still hurts, right? Still hurts. I've had people steal from me. I've had people take tens of thousands of dollars from me wrongly. And those things I've given to the Lord. I said, Lord, I forgive that person. Would you make this right? Would you make it up? And I can tell you in my life, God has blessed me so far beyond what I've lost through theft or fraud or those types of things that sometimes I'm embarrassed. I'm like, God, I think I have a little too much, you know. He's blessed me more than I can take. And tithing's something I've done my entire life. So I would say do that immediately. Immediately. That is, the rest of this is wisdom. Dave Ramsey got this from the Bible, and he got it because he was a 24-year-old millionaire and thought he was hot stuff, and new ownership came to the bank that he was at, and they called his loans. So he had $1 million and had to pay $2 million. Well, that doesn't leave you much. So he started from there. He started from being a millionaire to beyond broke to where he is now, multimillionaire. But I would tithe immediately. It does a couple of things. Jesus said, where your money is, there your heart will be also. And so that's where I want my heart. I want my heart to be open. That's why I give to my friends' fundraisers. I give to different charities. I give to this church. That's where I want my treasure to be. That's where I want my heart. And then afterwards, I've bought some nice things. I bought a hot rod. I bought a motorcycle, right? But my heart's not in those things. It's not. It's in God's work. So it changes your heart. But that's a great question. I would start that right away because it's God that guarantees that. It's God that said, test me. Put me to the test. Give this to my work. Give this to me. And see if I don't just pour out blessings from heaven. And my experience at 53 has been he has poured out blessings from heaven. I have far more than I should. Great question. Anybody else? All right. We'll move into announcements. We've had something called Explorers, which are people that responded to the He Gets Us movement, that type of thing. They said, I've got this need. I would like somebody from the church to call me. And there's about 5 of us that have been responding to that. However, Stacy was the one assigning those contacts. With her gone, she's gone to another church. I need somebody else to say, I will assign those contacts. You get the request. Doesn't mean you have to handle them all, but you just assign them. You would have access, like I do, to who's available for that, and you assign them as they come in. So if somebody's willing to do that, please get with me after the service, and we'll start that up again. It's been interesting since that campaign in the Super Bowl. We've had people almost every week, sometimes several times a week, reaching out. I want somebody to talk with me. I want somebody to pray with me. So it's been a way that this church has been able to minister to the community around us. Also, next Sunday, well, before that, next Saturday is a men's breakfast and Bible study. That'll be here at 9 o'clock. If you'd like to come or bring a guest, please do. We've got a sign-up sheet in the back. The sign-up sheet's important because I want you to have tacos. The Bible study goes so much better with tacos. We men have enjoyed it so much. We're able to, it's not just me teaching, we teach each other. It's informal around the table. We're able to go back and forth and talk about what God has done in our lives and help each other. It's been so good that sometimes I said, fellas, I think we should just arrange things in tables and have tacos every Sunday. And I think it'd go a lot better. We could have a whole new way of doing church. But we'd love to have you men here for that. Sign up in the back. The next Sunday, a friend of ours, Pastor Dale Sism, is going to be here. He's the presiding elder for Harvest Network International, which is the organization that provides covering for Abundant Life. So if I started going off the rails after smacking me around a little bit, David and Matthew would call him and say, hey, you got to talk to this guy. He's somebody in authority over me and over this church. He'll be guest speaking next week, and we're going to take up a free will offering for him then. I like to give you a little advance notice because a lot of us are not carrying cash anymore. Carry cash next week, or if you write out a check, write it to Abundant Life, but note that it's for Dale Sism, and we will get that money to him. Are there any other announcements that we should share this morning? Yes. Rachel.
So if
You're not a baby anymore.
I'm not a baby. I'm 18 now. So Sarah and I are in ROTC, and our ROTC battalion is going to the Battle of Flowers Parade. And I don't know exactly what we're going to be, the name we're going to be under, but it's like Wagner Thunderbird Battalion or something like that. So if you guys are watching the parade on Friday, keep an eye out for us if you'd like. But yeah.
That's fun.
But yeah, we're with Wagner High School, so if you look under there somewhere.
Excellent. I have not marched at Fiesta since I was in uniform, and it wasn't as much fun. But we're looking forward to that. Let's stand and join together and pray in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Receive the benediction. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, so that by the power of the Holy Spirit you may abound in hope. Amen. After the service, if you would like prayer this morning, if you go through that door immediately to your left, we'll have some folks happy to pray with you there. Let's remain standing for our closing hymn.
God sent his son, they called him Jesus. He came to love, heal and forgive. He lived and died can face tomorrow because He lives. All fear is gone because I know He holds the future, and life is worth the living just because He lives. How sweet to hold a newborn baby and feel the pride and joy He gives. But greater still, the calm assurance this child can face uncertain days because He lives. Because He lives, I can face tomorrow because He lives. All fear is gone because I know He holds the future, and life is worth the living just because He lives. And then one day, across the river, I'll find life's final war with fate. And then as death gives way to victory, I'll see the light of glory, and I'll know He lives. Because He lives, I can face tomorrow. Because He lives, all fear is gone. Because I know He holds the future, and life is worth